lots of things yesterday.
You blocking the loo.
Yes, yeah, no. I want
That's
to talk about that.
That's quite a funny thing.
Yeah, no,
You want to talk?
yeah, no, I do. I've been.
Are we live?
We're live.
Okay, well tell them what we thought
No,
yesterday.
there are lots. Oh, there's so many things I missed yesterday. I don't know why, but because it was so late. We want to go to bed, but today we're coming to you live, not live, in the afternoon. So we're buzzing. Just had a shower. Just got in. 120-mile day. It was longer than it should have been, if not more than, because of a detour we had to take. But more on that later. Two things. Lots of things, but the first two are, I forgot to mention, the day before yesterday coming into Des Moines, we saw a load of stuff in the sky, and we did mention this, and it was really weird, because at first it was so eerie, and we saw a load of like white things, and if you've ever watched or read The Hunger Games, the first thing that went through my mind was a like tiny little parachutes come to bomb us. And or like infect us with these parcels, and we got a bit closer, and it turns out they were balloons.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of this, but apparently,
Yeah, people at memorials sometimes write a little note to the person who's died, and they're often a helium balloon.
yeah,
And there are lots of little notes under. It's probably about 100 balloons. So
there were
it must have been
loads,
that.
yeah, and they went so high as well, like you could hardly see them. And and then I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Then James goes, yeah, it's awful for the environment.
Kills sea turtles. It's really bad.
No, yeah, it's true. It's awful, but it's so like well intentioned.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was the other cool thing was oh, what was it? Oh yeah, it's so flooded at the moment. Even now, even coming in today, there are places where it literally looks like you could be in like tropical rainforest with like these kind of marshlands with trees growing out of them, and like you kind of half expect David Attenborough to start narrating and a crocodile to like pop out of the water. It's like really, it looks really cool with like, and because it's all like shaded, and it's obviously just wood that's being flooded, but because it's so hot and humid at the moment, it feels pretty cool. And on that note, before I forget, because I will forget, we saw our house, because we were talking about the path going into the river, literally disappearing into the river. And today we went by the Mississippi. We went by the Mississippi today. Later. But we saw a house literally, and and it was surrounded by water. And we were just driving along on the highway, and it was just there, isolated. Like the water came up to the driveway, and it was just completely like inaccessible.
Like an island.
Yeah, it was really weird, and kind of they had a play set like with a big climbing frame that was kind of half submerged, and yes, that was quite cool. And a second cool thing, oh no, done that. Okay, so two gross things, and at Richard's house in West Des Moines. So we'd had that night out, and then, well, not really night out, but we kind of had the later night, gone to the bar, etc. And anyway, got up in the morning, and this may be way too much information. So if you don't like gross stuff, skip ahead a minute. But yeah, I went to the loo in the morning, as I always do, just like unload, get that weight off for the day.
You could just say I went to the loo in the morning.
And I wouldn't be as entertaining. And I came out, and then James went to the loo. He's like, Sam, we flocked it. And my heart sank. I was like, oh no, you've got to be kidding me. Because it was at a guest house, and they put you up, and you don't know them, and it's just the most embarrassing thing. And I kind of went to, I was like, hi, morning Richard, how do you sleep? Yeah, I blocked your toilet. And he was like, there's a plunge on the sink. He's like, oh, you know what, let me get it for you. I was like, no, please don't. I'd really rather you didn't. And so I went and did it, and at first I tried to flush it again, and that's an error. If you ever block a toilet, never flush it again, because the water rose, like a centimetre from the top, and it kept rising, literally centimetres, and eventually it stopped, and it was kind of, there must have been some sort of breathing space, because it eventually sank. But I got the plunger out, got to work, and that all turned out fine, thank goodness. But that was really embarrassing. And the second gross thing is we were on the road, and we were going down this hill, and it was completely like and now basically, because I've had this cold, I kind of like blowing your nose on the road is a bit grim, and so you kind of got to give a bit of warning before you do that. But basically, I my nose started itching, and it came out of nowhere. We were going down this hill with a headwind, so like there's so much momentum going that way, and I basically sneezed, and James was right behind me, and got the full force. It was so, like, I can't apologise enough, it's awful, but it was so funny at the same time.
I think you're going to be applying to that tomorrow.
Yeah. Probably, that's probably fair. Yeah, but there were two roadkills as well, which we didn't mention yesterday. Speaking of killing turtles, there was a tortoise literally the size of a large Domino's pizza coming into West Des Moines the other day, which was just there, and I don't know, it must be the floods. It must be, because I got no eagle could pick that up and drop it.
They're pretty big.
Oh yeah, well, there's true eagles. Yeah, I don't know. It was huge. So the eagle must have been huge, if it was an eagle. And the other thing was we saw the most gruesome roadkill we have ever seen 2 days ago as well. Literally, we were cycling by and we saw we started to see like bits of kind of red on the road. And then there was like a leg, just a shorn off leg of obviously it looked like kind of hooves, so like a deer. And we kind of went by and there were just like chunks of meat about this big, like big 16-ounce steak sort of things just littering the road. And then you see like a hoof there and a head there, and it was like really grim. But anyway, that's all caught up with stuff that we wanted to mention. That's literally been going around in my head all day. Oh yeah, one more thing. Pet peeve about America: 4-way stop signs. They're the worst. They're so bad for like who's allowed to go.
Yeah, but it's just a crossroads.
But
isn't it?
But there's so much less common in England. So much less.
Crossroads.
Usually you'll have one main road going through. I've only seen a couple in like very small villages where you have like, if there's a main road going through, that makes sense, and then you kind of wait.
And the way
until
that you
turn.
dealt with it today was that you just didn't stop. I was like, oh my god. Unfortunately, the Americans were nice enough, quick enough to stop.
Yeah.
Either way.
Well, because they call it all kind of stop, and so because it's so awkward to stop and start on a bike especially when you're clipping in. And they were all just stopped there, and I was like, well, I'm just going to go straight through then. Anyway, back onto today, yesterday even, where we left you. Oh yeah, so we left you in the Airstream, which was pretty cool. Got straight to bed, slept really well. I literally, last night was the first night where, because there wasn't much, like, there were a few places where the light could get in, and that didn't wake me up at all for the first time.
Well,
like I didn't wake up at 5 for the first time ever, and it so I woke up at 6:30 and headed on over to breakfast, where we had and that was delicious as well. They were Hannah and Pete are just the most amazing cooks, and we had a breakfast burrito with, to be honest, I didn't really see what went in. It was scrambled eggs,
peppers, mushrooms, tomatoes.
Just perfect. And then they had more like filling left over, so they gave that to us. And it was just delicious. And they had a breakfast smoothie as well. It's been so long since I've had a smoothie. And that was brilliant. And tasted really good. And and then we just got up, and they gave us toothbrushes as well, which was great because they saw James's, and apparently he wasn't allowed to scratch. And it's great as well because I stupidly brought my electric toothbrush, and it keeps running out of charge, obviously, and so now I have a toothbrush which is actually like good, so my teeth are clean, which is great.
And sandwiches as well.
Oh, and sandwiches! Yeah, they gave us chicken and avocado sandwiches, and they were delicious. We had them at our first stop because they wouldn't keep that long because they're chicken and avocado. But they were so good, and like snacks that they had from their weekend ride, which was, they're amazing. If anyone in France or the Dolomites, where they're off to next, happens to be watching this, like, you've got to show them some love because they were amazing hosts. And because that's where they're off to, and they just got warm showers for that, and we happened to be their first guests as well. Which was an absolute privilege.
5 stars.
5 stars. And and then we set off. We got ready pretty quick this morning. Set off 7:40. And out the door and followed Pete's instructions, which were really good because they cut out a lot of what Google Maps were telling us to do all over the place. So thanks, Pete, for that. Again, like, no local knowledge, just invaluable. and we went along, and it was really straightforward out of the village along Rochester Avenue, and this avenue was supposed to lead us like all the way over the First River, so for about like 30 miles or so, and we went about 10 we were about 10 miles in, and then there was some roadworks, and it was so frustrating because there's literally this one avenue which then open up. It's just there's basically nowhere else. It was the one kind of deserted place of the trip, and we couldn't go right because there was the interstate, and if we went right then we'd have to go even further. Well, anyway, we tried going right, and there was meant to be something that paralleled the interstate, but it was all gravel, so we didn't go there. And then we didn't want to go north because the wind was coming from the north, so we had a crosswind in the morning, and the wind was coming from the north, but it looked like the only option, and Pete gave us that advice. He said go up to Tipford, definitely. And so we did that and battled the headwinds up and up and up, and navigated through these like winding back roads. And to be fair, they were pretty nice roads.
Yeah. Aside
from the headwind, which was just dreadful. We thought we'd kind of been done with that because we were meant to just go due east the whole of today, but that didn't happen. And so we stopped in Tipford for. Yes, that was a real battle, and also just to mention as well, like we are, like I am all like constantly in the drop handlebars, which is like the lower ones, like bent over, just like for pure, just to try and get some less air resistance, just to every little bit, and you're just grinding, and it's so really tough going. Like mentally, you're just like, I cannot be bothered with this headwind anymore, and. Yeah, so we got to Tipford, ate those sandwiches, which were delicious, and stocked up on some bars. I dropped a whole bar today, like a whole cereal bar. I just dropped on the road over a bump.
There's a whole cereal bar, you're
like that. Bar. To me, it felt like it was a huge loss.
Not happy.
I was so not happy. I was like, I literally opened up the wrapper and it just went plop, and I was ready to like throw in my wrapper and throw a tantrum, and then I was like, compose myself. And carried on.
Ate another bar.
And ate another bar. Ate another few bars. But yeah, it was like 20 cents, so who cares? I care a lot, but in the grand scheme of things. And so we carried on from Tipford over the bridge, which was just this random river, and carried on going all the way to lunch. So what do we do? Where do we stop for lunch?
Exact place. It was like French.
Oh, the ice cream place.
Yeah.
But where was it? And it was McDonald's. Oh, it was really funny. We tried to go to McDonald's, but they said no food or drink other than McDonald's allowed in. We were coming out, and there was this lady getting really angry at the drive-through. So, and she was like almost bumping this other car. She was like shouting at them to hurry up, and like obviously really wanted her drive-through.
You could tell.
Yeah. That much was no, she filled up her seat of the car and carried on, so, and then we stopped at this ice cream place for lunch, got a soft drink and chilled out in the shade for a bit. That's really annoying that we can't remember where we stopped for lunch.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. We'll leave it in the description. Gosh.
But
anyway,
we then carried on.
Yeah, but we stopped for lunch really far. We did about 40 miles, didn't we? Of the 40-mile place, we went that extra step to.
It was 65 at lunch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so like 35. But it was still not quite far. Because it was 30
since the break, I see. Yeah.
And oh gosh, that's so annoying. But we carried on, and that's pretty irrelevant. But we were feeling all right because we'd now come up. We went up to Lauder, and we basically came down on Highway 30, and so we kind of had a bit of a cross/tailwind, which was quite nice compared to the headwind we'd been hitting before, and so we were feeling all pretty fresh at lunch, and we were like, wow, there's only 46 miles to go, and then it turned out to a house it was actually more like 54, but that's fine because now we're on the northwest side of Stirling, so we're that much closer for tomorrow. So tomorrow should hopefully be a little bit shorter into Chicago, the promised land. And anyway, so after lunch we set off. It was about 15 miles to Clinton, which is the town which is like on the Mississippi, and we cycled through there, lovely like riverside cycle, except the bank blocked the view of the Mississippi for most of it, so we didn't really see it until we were literally on top of the bridge. And so we got there, and that was insane. We crossed the Mississippi, really, really cool. It was huge. You could tell that it had been storming recently because it was literally right up to its banks.
Burst its banks.
Yeah,
Trees again.
yeah, literally. And yeah, but it was that was such a big moment. Like, it's just the little things like that, like crossing into Illinois and over the Mississippi, is like, it just really gets you going for the day because it's so like dull otherwise, pretty much. Yeah, but today as well, I just didn't listen to my headphones at all because there was so much. Well, to start with, there was so much navigating, so it's like concentrated on that, and then there was so much. It's like a day like that where you're so motivated. It's the South Dakota days, which were really tough. Like, where there was nothing. Where if you watch that like 2-minute time lapse of 40 miles, there was like nothing happened. Watch the clouds, that's cool. But apart from that, it's crazy how little there is. But today was quite exciting, and we carried on a little bit further to stop at a gas station in somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness sake, how do I not?
Some small town in America.
In a small town in America, and it was only about 20 miles from our final destination, Walmart. So we so we stopped there at about 4-ish. Yeah. As we said, set off at 7:40, so you can kind of do the maths with the amount of miles that we're doing: 30, 35, another 30 or something. And yeah, stopped with about 19 miles to go, and had some more food. That's about it. Stopped pretty random. Rested for like 5-10 minutes. Filled up the water bottles and carried on. And we carried on from this place into we're going towards Sterling, which is the place we're staying tonight, about 100 miles west of Chicago. And the roads were absolutely awful. They're the worst roads we've had all trip, aside from the gravel parts. But the worst actual like car roads that we've been on, and they're so. And when you've just cycled over 100 miles already that day, and you're on the last 20, all you want to do is cruise in, and you're just your bum already hurts from being on the saddle for 8 hours or whatever we were, and then you just come in and it's bump after bump after bump. And it's the worst when you like look down at the map or are checking something, like you can hardly take your eyes off the road because suddenly there'll be a jolt which will be all the way up your elbows and into your shoulders and just completely shake you up. And then so that was pretty rough going, and we got to we were going to Sterling. For some reason we couldn't carry on. Oh yeah, we were going to take a road directly like to Sterling, which we cut out. Yeah, so we're just going to take a direct path there, but then it was gravel, so we ended up taking a few miles detour again, but that was alright. It was just a couple miles down Highway 30, turning into Sterling. There's a huge river called Rock River as well, and through Rock Falls into Sterling, stopped off at Walmart, bread, ham, cereal bars, and I can't wait for Chicago to go to Walmart early because all the good like deals on the cereal bars go like that in the morning. So I can't wait for that because the last time
you get up early in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm gonna meet you in Chicago later.
And we because when we were in Missoula, that was the last time we got a good deal on cereal bars because they were because we did that in the morning before we set off on our day to where we went to Helena or wherever we get next. Whereas we always go now in the afternoon after we've finished our day cycling. And then from there, wow, that was an impressive click. It probably came out on the camera. They probably heard that. And gosh, are your ankles alright?
Yeah.
No, oh mate, I don't know how you get to Chicago on those. And then we cycled a couple of miles down the road to Jacob's place, which is actually, so he's living with his parents at the moment, and I think, is he college?
Not sure.
Not really sure. But so we've met his mum. I didn't really catch how you pronounced it. I think it's Loie, and Leah, is Leah?
I'm not sure.
Don't really know the relation there. We'll find out. But it's a lovely house, and it's really like cozy, and it's like this farmhouse. And it said, because I put in the address, and it said it was just in the middle of this random field. And I was going. I was like checking the numbers on the side just to be sure. And it said it was like in half a mile or so. and I looked across, and I was sure that I saw this number like faintly outlined on the post box, and so I like braked really harshly on my brakes, much to the surprise of James, who almost came into the back of me. And I came back to check it, and luckily we had stopped instead of going another half mile down the road, because it was indeed this particular number, but most of the kind of it wasn't that visible at all. But we came in, and we weren't really sure what to expect, because we just gone by a really like busy, bustling kind of urban city centre, and then it was just suddenly this farmhouse, and it's really quaint, really lovely. Came in, there were some like hens just like strutting about, and we came in, and there was this lovely like dog in a kennel, and some chicks like through the door, and Loey, I'm just going to go with Loey, we'll double check the name, and greeted us, and so did Leah, and they were lovely, and they're going to give us a tour of the farm now, which is really exciting, because they have like a dairy farm, so we're going to go and have a look around that, and we showered, got a bedroom each, which is brilliant, so we're all in a good mood. We arrived at the Walmart for about 5ish, and arrived here for about 5:30, so you've got plenty of time to chill out, have some food, have a look around the farm, etc.
I'm just trying to find out
the name.
The name.
Okay, we're going to double check the name. In the meantime, I'm going to keep talking, because I can talk for hours. And
DeWitt.
DeWitt.
Yeah.
Oh, DeWitt was where we stopped for lunch. Yes. Of course it was. Wow. To be fair, I wouldn't have remembered that if you hadn't said. I thought you meant the name of the mum. Anyway, one day till Chicago as well, which we're so excited for. That's been like, to be honest, it's only going to be a day. It's going to go so quickly, but we're really excited for it, because goodness knows we need a rest, and we're going to try that huge, thick pizza, that deep base pizza, which we're so excited for. We're going to have a load of food, like a massage, goes to the cinema. Apparently Rocketman's quite good, and see you then. See you tomorrow, after we're finally on the last stretch.
Yeah.